You might pour all your affection into one person. You might sacrifice your time, your energy, and your dreams for them. You might place their happiness far above your own needs. You might think this is the noble path of a truly devoted heart. Yet the result is often a silent weeping in the dark hours of the night. The chest feels incredibly heavy with unspoken sorrows. The mind races with endless, agonizing questions. You ask the silent sky why your kindness is met with coldness. You ask why your unwavering loyalty is sometimes rewarded with distance. Many of us give our whole heart to someone. We offer our entire soul. We build our whole world around their existence. But in the end we are left with a broken and empty spirit. This is a painful truth that causes so much suffering in the human experience. You might think that goodness should always be rewarded with goodness. You might believe that a sincere heart will naturally receive a sincere response. But life often shows us a very different reality. People who love the most sometimes suffer the most. Why does this happen? Is there something inherently wrong with love itself? Or is there a profound misunderstanding in the way we choose to love? To find the true answer we must look deeply into the nature of the human mind. We must understand the delicate line between pure love and selfish attachment. Love in its most authentic form is completely free. It is bright and light. It is liberating for the soul. It brings pure joy to both the giver and the receiver. True love does not bind. True love does not demand. But what we often call love is actually a hidden, dangerous form of clinging. We do not just love the person. We deeply want to possess them. We want to control their actions and their thoughts. We want the other person to belong to us entirely. And this intense desire to possess is the very root of our immense suffering. Let us reflect on a meaningful story from a distant time. There was once a very wealthy and powerful merchant. He lived in a magnificent palace filled with priceless treasures. His walls were adorned with the finest silk. His floors were covered with soft, warm carpets. He had mountains of gold. He had sparkling jewels and precious stones. He had hundreds of servants attending to his every command. He could buy absolutely anything his eyes desired. But despite all his immense wealth, his heart was always heavy, restless, and deeply unsatisfied. One hot summer evening he opened his large bedroom window. A gentle and cool breeze blew into his silent room. The wind carried the sweet, delicate scent of wild mountain flowers. It gently caressed his tired and worried face. It cooled his anxious mind. In that brief, beautiful moment, the merchant felt a profound peace he had never known before in his entire life. He fell deeply in love with this beautiful, refreshing wind. He wanted this wonderful feeling to last forever. He wanted the gentle wind to stay in his room and never leave his side. Because he was so used to owning everything he liked, he immediately made a selfish plan. He ordered his finest craftsmen to build a heavy, beautiful golden jar. He instructed them to polish the gold until it shone brightly like the morning sun. The jar was decorated with the most stunning diamonds and rubies. The next evening he waited patiently by the open window. When the cool, fragrant wind finally blew into the room again, he quickly trapped it inside. He sealed the heavy golden lid completely tight. He felt a huge rush of victory and pride. He thought he had finally captured the invisible beauty of the wind. He hugged the precious golden jar closely to his chest. He truly believed he could keep his beloved wind forever. Days quickly passed. The merchant felt very proud of his prized possession. One quiet evening he felt extremely weary and longed for that gentle caress again. He wanted to feel the cool peace on his skin. He carefully opened the heavy lid of the beautiful golden jar. He waited eagerly for the sweet fragrance. He waited for the soft, cool breeze. But absolutely nothing came out. The jar was completely empty. The air inside was terribly stale and lifeless. There was no sweet scent of mountain flowers. There was no refreshing, peaceful breeze. The wind had died the exact moment it was trapped. The merchant sat alone in the heavy silence of his grand room and wept bitterly. He finally realized he had destroyed the very thing he loved the most by trying to desperately possess it. This is exactly what we do in our everyday relationships. We meet someone beautiful and special. They bring a fresh, wonderful breeze into our lonely lives. They bring joy, warmth, and bright laughter. They make our ordinary days feel vibrant and deeply meaningful. We feel a profound, magical connection with their soul. But then a dark, quiet shadow slowly creeps into our anxious minds. It is the shadow of fear. The deep fear of losing them. The terrifying fear of being abandoned. The fear of returning to our old, cold loneliness. Driven by this intense, blinding fear, we begin to build our own golden jar. We try to lock the person inside the thick walls of our expectations. We build these invisible walls with jealousy. We build them with constant, tiring demands. We build them with heavy chains of emotional attachment. We tell ourselves that we are doing all of this because we love them so deeply. We completely mistake our tightening grip for genuine affection. But true love cannot breathe in a tight, dark space. True love desperately needs vast, open skies. It needs total freedom to exist and grow. When we try to trap a person, their spirit begins to suffocate. The fresh breeze turns into heavy, stale air. The natural joy turns into forced obligation. The bright laughter turns into silent resentment. The relationship slowly becomes a beautiful golden cage. It might look perfect and shiny on the outside. It might appear flawless to the watching world. But inside, the soul is crying for release. And when the other person naturally tries to pull away to catch their breath, we immediately panic. We hold on even tighter than before. We cry in despair. We beg them to stay. We become angry and bitter. We feel deeply betrayed by their distance. We look up and ask the heavens why our deep, loyal love is rewarded with such sharp, unbearable pain. The pain does not come from the love itself. The pain comes entirely from the grasping. The pain comes from the foolish illusion of ownership. We do not own anyone in this world. No one truly belongs to us. Every single person is a free breeze traveling through the vast universe. They come into our lives due to unseen causes and conditions. They stay with us as long as those conditions are right and harmonious. And they may naturally leave when the conditions eventually change. To love with true wisdom is to fully enjoy the gentle breeze while it is here. It is to leave the door and the window of your heart completely wide open. If the wind stays, you feel deeply grateful and joyful. If the wind leaves, you still feel immense gratitude for the lovely coolness it once brought to your life. This deep realization requires a profound shift in how we see ourselves and how we see others. We suffer immensely because we place a terribly heavy burden on the people we love. We unknowingly ask them to carry the entire weight of our own happiness. We create a perfect, flawless image in our minds. We draw a beautiful, detailed picture of exactly who they should be. We dictate how they should act, how they should speak, and how they should respond to our needs. But what happens when the real person does not match the perfect picture we painted in our minds? What happens when the living, breathing human being fails to follow the rigid script we carefully wrote for them? The sharp clash between our beautiful dreams and the stark reality creates a deep and silent agony in the heart. We begin to wonder if we truly fell in love with a real person, or merely an illusion of our own making. We fall in love with a beautiful dream. We meet a person for the very first time. We only see their best and brightest qualities. Our eager mind takes those few good traits and builds a completely perfect character. We completely ignore their natural flaws. We completely ignore their past scars. We dress them up in the beautiful clothes of our own desires. We deeply want them to be perfectly strong when we are feeling weak. We deeply want them to be entirely understanding when we are angry. We silently demand that they heal the deep wounds they did not even cause. This is a massive and unfair weight to place on an ordinary human being. Everyone has their own deep struggles. Everyone carries their own silent pain. Expecting someone to be absolutely perfect is a very cruel demand. It is a harsh demand born entirely from our own inner emptiness. Let us look at a deeply moving story of a highly passionate artist. There was once an incredibly gifted painter. His skilled hands could capture the bright sunlight on a simple canvas. His confident brushstrokes could bring dull colors to vivid life. People traveled from distant towns just to see his magnificent art. But despite all his great fame and success, his heart was completely empty. He felt a deep, aching loneliness every single night. He could not find anyone who truly understood his quiet soul. He searched everywhere for the absolute perfect companion. He wanted someone entirely flawless. He wanted someone who would never argue or disagree. He wanted someone who would only look at him with pure, unwavering admiration. Because he could not find this perfect person in the real world, he firmly decided to create one. He locked himself inside his quiet, bright studio. He gathered his finest paints and his absolute best brushes. He chose a large, pure white canvas. Day and night, he painted the exact image of his ideal love. He painted a gentle face with the most loving, tender eyes. He painted a warm, incredibly inviting smile. He poured all his deep longing into every single brushstroke. He poured his unfulfilled desires into the bright, beautiful colors. After many long and tiring months, the masterpiece was finally finished. The painting was breathtakingly beautiful. The figure looked incredibly real. The eyes seemed to hold a deep, endless ocean of pure love. The painter was completely mesmerized by his own creation. He sat in front of the canvas every single day. He began to talk to the painted figure. He shared his deepest, darkest secrets. He shared his biggest, most terrifying fears. He shared his grand, beautiful dreams for the future. In his own mind, the painting was listening perfectly. It never interrupted his long words. It never criticized his wild thoughts. It always looked at him with that same gentle, flawless smile. He felt he had finally found his true, perfect soulmate. He grew completely and hopelessly attached to this beautiful image. But one cold, rainy evening, a heavy sadness fell over him. He felt an intense, overwhelming need for a real, warm embrace. He desperately wanted the painted figure to step out of the canvas. He reached out his trembling hand and gently touched the beautiful face. But his fingers only felt cold, dry paint. The figure did not move. He spoke to it with hot tears in his eyes. He begged the painting to speak just one single word. He pleaded with it to gently comfort his aching heart. The room remained completely silent. The painted smile never changed at all. The beautiful eyes just stared back with cold, empty perfection. The artist fell to his knees in bitter, crushing despair. He wept loudly in the empty, quiet room. He felt deeply betrayed by the total silence. He became intensely angry at the canvas. He accused the painting of being terribly cruel and heartless. He grabbed his heavy brushes and violently destroyed the beautiful masterpiece. He tore the canvas into tiny, ruined pieces. His heart was completely shattered into 1,000 fragments. He suffered immense, unbearable agony. But his deep pain was not caused by the painting. A painting is simply rough cloth and colored water. His deep suffering was caused entirely by his own impossible expectations. He had blindly demanded a beautiful illusion to become a breathing reality. He punished the silent canvas for simply being exactly what it was. We often behave exactly like this tragic, lonely painter. We take a real, breathing human being and turn them into a blank canvas. We quickly paint all our deepest desires over their true, authentic personality. We completely cover their real flaws with the bright colors of our own romantic fantasies. We do not actually see the real person standing right in front of us. We only see the perfect, flawless image we have carefully painted in our own minds. We fall deeply in love with our own beautiful creation. We fall completely in love with a beautiful ghost. When the real person naturally acts like a normal human, we are deeply shocked. When they show their sudden anger, we feel highly offended. When they reveal their hidden fears, we feel deeply disappointed. When they make ordinary, daily mistakes, we feel terribly betrayed. We look at them and wonder why they have changed so much. We angrily accuse them of becoming a completely different person. But the truth is incredibly simple. They never changed at all. They were always a real, flawed human being. The beautiful, perfect paint is simply starting to peel away. The bright colors of our illusion are fading fast. The real, imperfect canvas is finally showing through. This realization often brings a sharp, bitter pain to the chest. We quickly blame the other person for failing our high expectations. We harshly punish them with our cold, distant silence. We ruthlessly punish them with our sharp, cutting words. We make them feel they are never quite good enough. We make them feel they are constantly failing a very important test. But this is a strict test they never even agreed to take. We secretly demand they completely heal the deep wounds from our past. We want them to entirely fill the dark, empty spaces inside our own souls. This is a completely impossible task. No human being can carry such a massive, crushing weight. No one can perfectly fulfill another person's endless, hungry desires. When we constantly expect, we live entirely in the future. We wait anxiously for the day they will finally change. We wait for the day they will become our absolute perfect ideal. We completely miss the beautiful, vivid reality of the present moment. We totally ignore the simple, quiet love they are offering right now. True love is only real in the present moment. If we are always waiting for a much better version of them, we are entirely missing the real person standing right beside us. This is a tragic, sad waste of precious time. We blindly throw away real, comforting warmth for a cold, imaginary dream. When we force someone to fit perfectly into our narrow mold, we slowly destroy the entire relationship. The other person begins to feel completely exhausted. They feel they are always walking on very thin, fragile ice. They feel they must constantly hide their true, authentic self. They become deeply afraid of making even a tiny mistake. The relationship loses all its natural, easy joy. It becomes a heavy, extremely tiring performance. The bright, spontaneous laughter is replaced by quiet, hidden anxiety. The warm, easy connection is replaced by silent, bitter resentment. The beautiful love we once felt slowly turns into a heavy, dark cloud. Let us deeply reflect on our own hearts for a moment. Think about how incredibly heavy it feels when someone expects entirely too much from you. Think about the deep, tight anxiety of never meeting their extremely high standards. You feel inadequate. You feel entirely unseen and misunderstood. This is exactly how the other person feels when we project our heavy illusions onto them. True compassion starts with a deep, profound understanding of this mutual burden. We must gently remove this heavy weight from their tired shoulders. We must allow them to breathe freely. We must allow them to simply be themselves. To love truly is to drop the heavy brushes completely. It is to step far away from the beautiful canvas of our own expectations. It is to look closely at the person in front of us with clear, completely honest eyes. We must clearly see their scars and their flaws. We must gently recognize their deep fears and their hidden insecurities. We must fully accept that they are a complex, constantly changing human being. They are not a perfect character in a fairy tale. They are not a magic cure for our own internal sadness. They are simply a fellow traveler on this difficult, bumpy journey of life. Accepting someone exactly as they are is the absolute highest form of love. It brings an incredible, soothing sense of peace to the restless heart. It entirely removes the heavy, tiring burden of constant judgment. When we stop expecting absolute perfection, we can finally appreciate reality. We can find true, deep beauty in their simple, ordinary acts of kindness. We can find a profound connection in their honest, highly vulnerable moments. We stop trying to forcefully change them. We simply walk calmly beside them. We offer our warm, steady presence without any rigid demands. But letting go of these deep expectations is incredibly difficult. It requires immense courage and brutal, unyielding honesty with ourselves. We must look deeply inward and clearly see our own demanding nature. We must face the deep, terrifying fear that makes us want to control absolutely everything. The more we try to squeeze someone into our perfect picture, the more they will naturally slip right through our fingers. The tighter our mental grip becomes, the faster the love completely disappears. We start to panic fiercely when we feel them pulling away. This gripping panic leads us straight into a dark maze of desperate grasping. The desperate grasping we feel always comes from a very dark place. It comes from the terrifying fear of loss. When we find something beautiful, we immediately want to keep it forever. We become terrified of the day it might disappear. This deep fear makes our minds highly anxious. We start to watch every single step our partner takes. We start to question their every single word. We constantly look for tiny signs that they might be leaving. We try to hold them closer and closer to our chests. We think that holding on tightly will magically keep them safe. We think it will strictly protect our fragile hearts from sudden pain. But this is a very tragic misunderstanding of how the human heart truly works. Love is incredibly delicate. It is exactly like dry, fine sand resting in the open palm of your hand. If you hold your hand completely open and relaxed, the sand stays perfectly still. It rests peacefully in the warm center of your palm. You can walk for miles and the sand will remain safely with you. But the moment you become afraid of the wind, you try to protect the sand. You slowly start to close your fingers. You frantically squeeze your hand into a very tight fist. What happens to the sand then? The tighter you squeeze, the faster the sand slips right through your fingers. It falls quickly to the cold ground below. By desperately trying to save it, you actually lose it completely. You are left with a very tired, entirely empty hand. Let us look at a quiet village near a beautiful green forest. There lived a gentle young woman with a very pure heart. She loved spending her bright mornings walking among the blooming wild flowers. One warm morning, she saw the most magnificent butterfly she had ever seen. Its wings were painted with deep blue and bright gold colors. It danced gracefully from one soft petal to another. It brought an incredible sense of joy and wonder to her quiet soul. She sat quietly on the soft grass and watched it for many long hours. She felt a deep, beautiful connection to this tiny, fragile creature. The next day, she returned to the exact same spot. To her great surprise, the beautiful butterfly was there again. It even landed softly on her open shoulder for a brief moment. Her heart swelled with immense, overwhelming happiness. She felt truly chosen and deeply loved by nature. This beautiful routine continued for several warm, sunny days. But soon, a dark shadow of fear entered her anxious mind. She began to worry about the coming heavy rain. She worried that a strong wind might blow the butterfly far away. She worried that a hungry bird might catch her precious, tiny friend. The simple joy of watching the butterfly was entirely replaced by a heavy, twisting anxiety. She firmly decided she had to protect the butterfly at all costs. She believed she needed to keep it completely safe from the dangerous world. She found a small, tight wooden box in her quiet room. She carefully carved a few tiny holes for air. The next morning, she went to the green meadow with the wooden box in her hand. She waited very patiently for the butterfly to land on a large flower. With a swift, sudden movement, she trapped the beautiful creature inside the dark box. She closed the lid very tightly. She felt a massive wave of relief wash over her trembling body. She felt she had finally secured her beautiful source of daily happiness. She took the small box into her warm bedroom. She placed it right next to her bed. She planned to open it every single morning. She planned to watch the butterfly dance safely inside her own room. The first night, she heard tiny, desperate scratching sounds against the hard wood. The butterfly was frantically trying to find a way out. It wanted to fly back to the vast, open sky. It wanted to find the sweet nectar of the wild flowers. But the young woman ignored the scratching completely. She told herself she was doing the right thing. She told herself she was simply protecting the creature she loved so deeply. The next morning, she woke up with a very bright smile. She carefully opened the tight lid of the wooden box. She eagerly expected the butterfly to fly up and greet her brightly. But the small box was completely still. The magnificent creature was lying totally lifeless on the hard bottom. Its beautiful blue and gold wings were tragically broken and torn. It had exhausted its tiny body trying to escape the dark prison. The young woman burst into bitter, heavy tears. She realized her intense fear of loss had completely destroyed the very life she wanted to save. She had killed the beautiful dance by trying to strictly own it. We do this exact same thing to the people we love the most. We find a beautiful, free spirit that brings immense joy to our daily lives. We deeply admire their bright energy and their independent nature. But then the heavy fear of loss slowly creeps in. We begin to build a tight wooden box around them. We build this invisible box with our endless rules and strict conditions. We strictly tell them who they should talk to and where they should go. We constantly check their messages and monitor their daily steps. We trap them in our deep, unhealed insecurities. We falsely call this dark prison love and protection. But a human soul cannot survive in a tight, dark box. The bright energy we once admired begins to quickly fade away. Their natural joy turns into silent, heavy exhaustion. They start to feel trapped and completely suffocated by our endless demands. They flutter desperately against the invisible walls of our jealousy. They try to gently explain their deep need for basic freedom and trust. But our blinding fear makes us entirely deaf to their quiet pleas. We only squeeze the box tighter and tighter. We mistakenly think their healthy desire for space means they do not love us anymore. Where does this terrifying fear of loss truly come from? It does not come from the present moment. It often comes from our own deep, unhealed wounds. Many of us have experienced painful abandonment in the past. We have lost people we cared about deeply. We carry that heavy, invisible baggage into every single new relationship. We blindly project our old, dark fears onto a completely innocent person. We unknowingly punish our current partner for the deep pain caused by someone else entirely. We desperately try to control the present moment to fix the broken past. This is a very heavy burden to place on love. Love can never be a magic shield against the pain of life. Loss is an undeniable part of the human experience. Everyone we meet will eventually leave us in one way or another. They might leave because the relationship naturally ends. They might leave because their life takes a completely different direction. Or they might leave because of the undeniable reality of physical death. This is the absolute truth of our fragile existence. Denying this truth does not protect us from pain at all. Denying this truth only makes the inevitable pain much sharper and much more devastating. When we fully accept that loss is entirely natural, something beautiful happens. The heavy grip of fear begins to loosen slightly. We stop spending our precious energy trying to build strong defensive walls. We start spending our energy deeply appreciating the beautiful time we have together right now. We learn to love bravely in the face of inevitable loss. This is the most profound kind of courage a human being can possibly possess. We must clearly see that attachment and love are two completely different things entirely. Attachment says I desperately need you to make me happy. Love simply says I deeply want you to be genuinely happy. Attachment is heavy, highly demanding, and always afraid. Love is light, entirely free, and deeply peaceful. When we operate from deep attachment, we are constantly living in fear. We are always anxiously scanning the horizon for approaching storms. We never truly rest securely. We never truly enjoy the warm sunlight of the present moment. The fear of loss actually brings about the exact loss we are most afraid of. Our tight grasping pushes the person far away. Our deep suspicion destroys the delicate foundation of mutual trust. Our heavy control extinguishes the bright flame of their affection. We end up totally alone, crying bitterly over the broken wings of a relationship we ruined with our own hands. To break free from this painful cycle, we must gently train our anxious minds. We must deeply practice the beautiful art of letting go every single day. Letting go does not mean pushing the person away. It does not mean becoming cold or distant toward them. Letting go simply means dropping the illusion of total control. It means completely surrendering to the natural, unpredictable flow of life. We must find the immense courage to open our hands completely. We must clearly recognize that absolutely everything in this vast universe is bound to change. Everything changes. This is the most fundamental law of our universe. The bright sun always gives way to the dark night. The warm summer gracefully surrenders to the cold winter. The leaves turn green, then yellow, and eventually fall to the ground. Nothing stays exactly the same forever. Yet we expect love to be the only exception to this universal rule. We deeply expect our relationships to remain perfectly frozen in time. We want the intense passion of the first day to last for decades. We want our partner to remain the exact same person we met years ago. This denial of natural change is the root of our deepest sorrows. There was once a very proud royal gardener. He served a powerful king in a magnificent palace. The gardener was famous for growing the most exquisite plants. The constant praise made him very arrogant. He truly believed he could conquer nature. One bright spring morning, he discovered a completely new flower in the woods. The flower had petals as soft as silk. It had a radiant pink color that glowed in the sunlight. Its fragrance was completely intoxicating. The gardener was entirely captivated. He carefully moved it to the center of the royal garden. He watered it with the purest mountain spring water. Throughout the warm spring, the flower bloomed beautifully. But soon, the seasons began to shift. The warm air turned cold. Winter was slowly approaching. The natural time for the delicate spring flower was coming to an end. Its vibrant pink petals began to pale. Its bright green leaves started to curl. The proud gardener panicked completely. He refused to accept that his beautiful flower was fading. He angrily commanded his servants to bring warm coals from the kitchen. He placed the hot coals around the soil to create fake warmth. He brought bright lanterns to mimic the summer sun. He firmly demanded that the fragile spring flower continue to bloom in the dead of winter. He spoke harshly to the dying plant. But nature does not listen to angry demands. The harsh winter frost eventually arrived. The extra heat from the coals only burned the delicate roots. In his desperate attempt to force the flower to live forever, the gardener destroyed it completely. We often act exactly like this proud royal gardener. We meet someone during the vibrant spring of our lives. We share beautiful, warm moments together. But human beings are living creatures. We are constantly changing. The person you loved 10 years ago is not the exact same person today. Their deep thoughts have evolved. Their personal dreams have shifted. You have also changed in profound ways. Our immense suffering begins when we entirely refuse to accept this natural evolution. We desperately try to freeze the relationship in the past. We angrily demand our partner to act like they did in the very beginning. We try to recreate old memories instead of building new ones. We complain that they do not look at us the same way anymore. We use heavy guilt and sharp anger like the gardener used the hot coals. We try to forcefully warm up a season that has already passed. This forced effort does not bring the old love back. It only burns the delicate roots of whatever connection still remains. True wisdom lies in flowing gracefully with the changing seasons of love. A deep relationship cannot remain in a constant state of spring. It must face the intense heat of summer. It must experience the quiet shedding of autumn leaves. It must endure the cold, silent reflection of winter. Each season has its own unique beauty. Each phase brings a different kind of depth to the connection. If you demand spring to last forever, you will completely miss the peaceful quiet of the winter snow. The winter of a relationship can sometimes bring a dark storm. Sometimes the change is not just a quiet fading of passion. Sometimes the change comes as a sharp and sudden betrayal. This is perhaps the most painful experience the human heart can endure. You give someone your absolute trust. You build your entire life around their sweet promises. You offer them your most vulnerable self. Then they break that deep trust completely. The pain is truly unbearable. It feels like a sharp knife in the chest. You feel entirely foolish. You feel deeply abandoned and lost. You ask the silent sky why someone you loved so much could hurt you so deeply. You wonder if true justice even exists in this cold world. When we face such deep betrayal, our minds become chaotic. We are consumed by burning anger. We are overwhelmed by profound sadness. We constantly replay the painful events in our heads. We desperately try to find a logical reason for their cruel actions. But human actions are rarely logical. They are driven by deep ignorance and blind desires. To truly understand this pain, we must look through the clear lens of cause and effect. We must deeply understand the universal law of karma. Every single event in our lives has a hidden root. We usually only see the final result. We rarely see the tiny seed that was planted long ago. Let us consider a story about a hard-working old man. He lived alone in a small quiet village. He loved spending his days working in his garden. One afternoon he found a strange dark seed on the mountain. He did not know what kind of plant it was. But the seed looked very smooth and beautiful. He decided to plant it right in the middle of his garden. He gave it the richest soil. He watered it faithfully every single morning. He protected it from the harsh sun and the heavy rain. He eagerly waited for it to grow. He dreamed of harvesting incredibly sweet and delicious fruits. Many long years quickly passed. The small seed grew into a massive tree. It had thick green leaves and strong heavy branches. Finally, one warm summer the tree produced many bright red fruits. They looked incredibly juicy and inviting. The old man was filled with immense joy. He proudly picked the largest fruit. He took a huge eager bite. Instantly his face twisted in deep disgust. The fruit was terribly bitter and completely toxic. It burned his tongue and made his stomach ache. He was furiously angry. He loudly cursed the tall tree. He angrily cursed the rich soil. He felt deeply betrayed by his own hard work and dedication. He thought the universe was being incredibly cruel to him. He had given the tree nothing but pure love and daily care. Why did it give him such terrible poison in return? A wise monk walking by heard his loud, angry shouts. The monk stopped and looked quietly at the tall tree. The monk gently explained the simple truth to the angry man. The tree was not evil at all. The rich soil was not cruel. The heavy rain and the warm sun were not unfair. They simply did their natural jobs. The problem was the seed itself. It was always a seed of a bitter poisonous plant. You can give a bitter seed the best water and the finest soil in the world. It will still only produce a very bitter fruit. We often do the exact same thing in our relationships. We unknowingly plant seeds of deep attachment. We plant heavy seeds of expectation and control. We plant seeds of blind dependency. We water these tiny seeds every single day with our anxious thoughts. We nourish them with our intense desire to own another person. We put all our vital energy into making the relationship grow. We completely ignore the actual nature of the seed we planted. When the relationship eventually breaks apart, we feel completely destroyed. When betrayal happens, we are forced to taste the extremely bitter fruit of our own attachments. We cry and we curse the other person. We angrily blame them for ruining our beautiful lives. We feel our sincere love has been deeply betrayed. But we must bravely ask ourselves a difficult question. Were we truly planting seeds of pure unconditional love? Or were we planting heavy seeds of desperate emotional need? Pure love never produces the bitter fruit of intense suffering. Only attachment and grasping produce such deep agonizing pain. The pain is simply the natural result of trying to hold on to an illusion. What about the person who betrayed your deep trust? They are also bound by the exact same universal law. They are acting entirely from their own deep confusion. They are chasing a temporary illusion of happiness. By breaking a sincere heart, they are planting a very dark and heavy seed for their own future. They are creating their own inevitable suffering. You do not need to seek painful revenge. You do not need to punish them for their actions. The strict law of cause and effect will naturally balance everything. Their betrayal is their own heavy burden to carry. It is not your burden to carry anymore. To truly heal from a deep betrayal, we must entirely change our focus. We must stop asking why they did such a terrible thing. We must gently turn our attention back to our own neglected garden. We must clearly see what kind of seeds we are planting in our hearts right now. If you hold tightly to burning anger, you are planting a new bitter seed. If you hold on to deep resentment, you are watering a poisonous tree in your own soul. You will be the one forced to eat its bitter fruit in the future. The person who hurt you has already moved on. But your own anger will keep you trapped in a dark prison of pain. True forgiveness is not about saying their cruel actions were right. Forgiveness is not about instantly trusting them again. Forgiveness is an act of profound self-love. It is a firm decision to stop watering the bitter tree. It is a brave choice to entirely uproot the poisonous plant from your own mind. You choose to gently release the heavy burning coal of anger. You choose to step away from the toxic shadow of the past. You decide to clear the soil of your heart completely. This deep clearing process takes immense time and great patience. You will feel the sharp pain many times. You will remember the cruel words and the broken promises. When those dark memories arise, simply observe them quietly. Do not let them control your bright spirit. Acknowledge the deep wound without letting it define your entire existence. You are much more than the pain someone else caused you. You have the incredible power to plant entirely new seeds today. You can plant gentle seeds of deep compassion. You can plant bright seeds of self-respect and true inner peace. As you slowly heal, you will discover a profound hidden truth. The painful betrayal was actually a strict but necessary teacher. It forced you to clearly see the dangerous illusion of attachment. It shattered the fragile glass of your unrealistic expectations. It pushed you to finally look inward for true security. You realize that no human being can ever be your ultimate safe harbor. True safety can only be found within your own awakened mind. This deep realization brings an incredible sense of lasting freedom. You learn to love again, but this time with clear open eyes. You love without the heavy desperate need to possess. You start to see that every single person is fighting a hard unseen battle. The ones who hurt others are often the ones hurting the most inside. Their minds are filled with dark chaotic storms. They stumble blindly through life trying to find a tiny drop of peace. When you clearly see their deep ignorance, your sharp anger slowly transforms into gentle pity. You do not want them back in your life. But you truly wish them peace. You wish they would wake up from their dark painful dreams. This pure compassion entirely frees your own soul from the heavy chains of the past. The winter storm of betrayal eventually passes. The cold snow will definitely melt away. If you patiently tend to your own mind, a beautiful new spring will arrive. The fresh soil of your heart will be ready for true joy. You will appreciate the warm sunlight much more than before. You will cherish the quiet peaceful moments. You will understand that real love is a rare and precious gift. It should never be forcefully grabbed or tightly chained. It should be deeply appreciated and freely given. This is the ultimate lesson of the bitter fruit. It teaches us how to carefully choose the seeds we plant for the rest of our beautiful lives. We carefully choose the seeds we plant for the future. But sometimes we make a very dangerous mistake. We do not just plant small seeds in the quiet soil. We completely bury our own selves. We think that true love requires absolute sacrifice. We believe we must give up everything we have. We surrender our personal dreams. We forget our own deep needs. We slowly erase our own unique identity. We do all of this just to make another person happy. We falsely call this blind surrender pure devotion. But this is not true love at all. This is a tragic loss of deep self-respect. When you lose yourself completely in a relationship, you create a deep imbalance. You become completely empty inside. You constantly pour your precious energy into another person. But you never take the time to refill your own soul. You cannot pour fresh water from a completely dry cup. You cannot give true joy when your own heart is terribly exhausted. Let us deeply reflect on a very quiet and meaningful story. Deep inside an ancient dark cave, there was a heavy cold stone. It had rested in the dark shadows for many long centuries. It was entirely frozen and completely lifeless. One evening a traveler left a small bright candle right next to the stone. The candle had a very warm and beautiful golden flame. It looked at the freezing heavy stone. The candle felt immense pity for the cold object. It deeply wanted to share its beautiful warmth. The candle made a very firm decision. It decided to burn as brightly as it possibly could. It wanted to completely melt the deep coldness of the heavy stone. The candle pushed its bright flame higher and higher. It burned fiercely through the long dark night. The tiny flame danced wildly against the cold hard surface. The candle sacrificed its own wax very quickly. It ignored the fast melting of its own body. It thought that if it just tried hard enough, the stone would finally become warm. But the heavy stone was simply too large and too cold. The tiny heat of the candle could not change the nature of the solid rock. The stone remained exactly as it was. It did not feel the warmth. It did not appreciate the bright light. By the time the morning sun finally arrived, the candle was completely gone. It had burned itself out entirely. Only a tiny puddle of cold dark wax remained on the ground. The bright beautiful flame was lost forever. And the heavy stone was still completely cold. Many of us behave exactly like this bright little candle. We find someone who is emotionally cold or deeply broken. We feel a very strong urge to fix them. We deeply want to heal their old painful wounds. We pour all our warm love into their cold empty spaces. We stay up late comforting their anxious minds. We excuse their bad behavior. We completely ignore our own deep exhaustion. We burn our own precious life force away. We truly believe our immense love can magically change their cold nature. But human beings are not easily changed by external heat. A cold heart can only be truly warmed from the inside. They must find their own internal flame. Your blind sacrifice cannot do the hard work for them. When you constantly burn yourself down, you do not heal the other person. You only destroy your own beautiful light. You become deeply bitter and entirely empty. You start to feel massive resentment toward the person you tried to save. You wonder why they do not appreciate your huge sacrifice. True love requires profound wisdom and strong self-respect. You must clearly know your own limits. You must protect your own bright flame. Loving someone does not mean becoming a sad victim for their pain. It means standing warmly beside them while keeping your own light strong. If you lose your own identity, you have nothing beautiful left to give. You become a hollow shadow of the person you once were. To love deeply and safely, you must always love yourself first. This is not a selfish act at all. It is a necessary foundation for any healthy connection. You must carefully nourish your own personal dreams. You must take quiet time to heal your own tired mind. When your own heart is full of peace, your love becomes a gentle safe harbor. It does not desperately seek to change the cold stones of the world. It simply shines brightly and beautifully just exactly as it is. Your steady light will naturally guide the right people toward you. Your steady light will naturally guide the right people toward you. But a new danger silently appears when those people finally arrive. We often forget the quiet beauty of our own steady light. We suddenly want to control the light of the other person. We want to direct their exact path. We want to manage their thoughts and their deep emotions. This brings us to a profound and painful illusion. It is the heavy illusion of total control. We truly believe we can force another human being to love us exactly the way we want. We think that if we try hard enough, we can make them stay forever. This desire to control destroys the very foundation of true connection. Freedom is the absolute basis of any real love. Without genuine freedom, love simply cannot breathe. It quickly becomes a heavy and dark prison. Let us explore the story of a highly skilled musician. He lived in a quiet town surrounded by high mountains. He owned a very beautiful wooden lute. The instrument had the finest silken strings. When he touched the strings gently, the lute produced the most heavenly music. People from all over the valley came to listen to his beautiful melodies. The musician loved his wooden lute deeply. He polished the smooth wood every single morning. He carefully tuned the soft strings every single night. He felt a profound connection to the beautiful music they created together. But slowly, a strange and dark pride entered his anxious mind. He began to think the lute belonged entirely to him. He wanted the instrument to play a beautiful song without his gentle touch. He wanted the strings to vibrate on their own just to please him. He firmly believed his deep love for the instrument was enough to make it obey his silent commands. One quiet evening, he placed the beautiful lute on a wooden table. He sat in a chair and strictly commanded the instrument to play his favorite song. He waited in the silent room. The wooden lute remained completely still. The silken strings did not move at all. No beautiful melody filled the quiet air. The musician became highly frustrated. He raised his voice and demanded the music to start. He shouted that he had given the instrument his entire life and all his loving care. He felt completely betrayed by the absolute silence. His deep frustration quickly turned into blinding anger. He grabbed the beautiful wooden lute with his shaking hands. He violently smashed the delicate instrument against the hard stone floor. The fine wood shattered into many broken pieces. The silken strings snapped sharply. The heavenly music was entirely destroyed forever. The musician sat on the cold floor and cried bitter tears. He had destroyed his most precious possession because it simply could not do the impossible. A string cannot play itself. An instrument cannot create a melody without a gentle, willing touch. We do this exact same thing in our relationships. We meet someone wonderful and create beautiful harmony together. But then our deep ego demands absolute control. We sit back and angrily demand the other person to read our minds. We expect them to know exactly what we need without us saying a single word. We want them to act entirely according to our strict inner rules. When they naturally fail to meet these impossible demands, we become deeply angry. We throw sharp words that shatter the delicate trust between two souls. We completely destroy the beautiful harmony because we want to control the unpredictable melody of life. You must clearly understand that no one can be controlled. You cannot force a heart to feel something it does not feel. You cannot force a mind to understand something it is not ready to understand. True love is a constant, gentle collaboration. It is exactly like playing a beautiful instrument. You must carefully pay attention to the unique sound of the other person. You must gently adjust your own touch to match their natural vibration. You cannot force the strings to be tighter than they can handle. If you pull too hard, the connection will completely snap. When you drop the heavy burden of control, a deep peace enters your soul. You simply enjoy the music while it is playing. You appreciate the genuine effort the other person makes. You allow them the absolute freedom to be themselves. This freedom is the greatest gift you can ever give to someone you love. It tells them they are perfectly safe with you. It tells them they do not have to perform a stressful role. They can just be a normal, flawed human being. And in that spacious freedom, true and lasting love naturally blossoms. True and lasting love naturally blossoms in the open space of absolute freedom. But we rarely allow this beautiful freedom to exist. We often place a heavy hidden lock on our own hearts. This hidden lock is the dangerous trap of conditions. We proudly say we love someone very deeply. But if we look closely at our own minds, we will find a long strict list of silent rules. We love them if they are always perfectly kind to us. We love them if they make us feel highly important. We love them if they never make any big mistakes. This is not genuine love at all. This is simply a cold and strict business transaction. When we attach rigid conditions to our affection, we are only trading emotions. We give our warm attention simply to receive their constant validation. We offer our precious time only to buy their total loyalty. We silently keep a strict mental scorecard of absolutely everything we do. We remember every single sacrifice we have ever made. We expect an equal or much greater payment in return. When the other person naturally fails to pay this heavy emotional debt, our warm love instantly vanishes. It quickly turns into bitter anger and deep resentment. Let us look deeply at the sad life of a very wealthy and powerful lord. He lived in a massive stone castle at the very top of a high green hill. He owned vast beautiful lands and endless heavy chests of shiny gold. He firmly believed that absolute loyalty could be easily bought. He believed he could purchase genuine love with his massive fortune. He invited hundreds of guests to his grand castle every single week. He hosted the most magnificent feasts with rare foods and sweet wines. He gave incredibly expensive gifts to anyone who praised his great name. He bought beautiful fine silk clothes for his many young companions. He gave heavy gold coins to those who laughed loudly at his simple jokes. In return for his great wealth, these people surrounded him completely. They smiled brightly whenever he entered the large warm dining room. They constantly told him he was the wisest and most generous man in the entire world. The rich lord felt incredibly proud and completely secure. He thought he had successfully built an impenetrable strong fortress of love and loyalty. He truly believed these smiling people would stay by his side forever. He thought his conditional arrangements were the exact same thing as true deep friendship. But life has a very strict and harsh way of testing our fragile illusions. Many years quickly passed. The rich lord grew very old and extremely frail. A terrible sudden illness struck his tired body. He could no longer leave his large heavy bed. At the exact same time, a long bitter war destroyed his vast green lands. His massive wealth was completely drained away. His heavy wooden chests of shiny gold became totally empty. He could no longer host the magnificent loud feasts. He could no longer give away expensive silk clothes or bright gold coins. When the rich generous rewards completely stopped, a heavy dark silence fell over the grand castle. The loud happy laughter entirely disappeared. The bright warm smiles quickly faded away. One by one, his many companions quietly packed their small bags and left the high green hill. They did not stay to comfort his sick and frail body. They did not sit by his heavy bed to hold his trembling cold hand. The rich lord found himself entirely alone in the massive cold castle. He lay quietly in his dark empty room and wept bitter heavy tears. He felt deeply betrayed by the very people he had supported for so many long years. He angrily cursed their terrible blind selfishness. But as the quiet lonely days passed, a profound and painful realization pierced his lonely heart. They did not truly betray him at all. They simply honored the exact strict rules of the cold transaction he had created. He had only paid for their bright smiles and loud empty praises. He never actually cultivated a single tiny seed of pure unconditional love. When the conditions of the strict trade were no longer met, the fake love naturally dissolved into thin air. We often make this exact same tragic mistake in our own daily lives. We build our close relationships on a very fragile foundation of conditions. We silently say to our partner that we will love them as long as they provide total security. We strictly demand them to always be strong and highly successful. We entirely expect them to completely erase our own deep dark insecurities. What happens when they suddenly lose their important job? What happens when they become terribly sick and deeply exhausted? What happens when they can no longer meet your long heavy list of strict requirements? If your deep love is completely tied to these specific external conditions, it will quickly turn to dust. The delicate relationship will completely collapse under the heavy weight of unfulfilled expectations. You will look at them with cold bitter disappointment instead of warm gentle compassion. Conditional love is incredibly fragile because conditions are always changing. Great physical beauty eventually fades with old age. Massive wealth can be completely lost in a single day. Perfect physical health can suddenly disappear without any prior warning. If your deep affection depends entirely on these temporary things, your heart will always be highly anxious. You will live in constant heavy fear of the day the conditions change. You will never know the profound sweet peace of a truly secure connection. The pain of conditional love cuts very deeply both ways. Not only does it leave you feeling totally empty when your strict demands are not met, it also places a terrible heavy burden on the human being you claim to love. Imagine living under the constant intense pressure of having to earn basic affection every single day. The other person feels they must constantly perform a perfectly flawless role just to keep your heart warm. They feel absolutely terrified of making a simple honest mistake. They know that one tiny wrong move could cost them your entire love. This heavy constant fear destroys the beautiful natural flow of human life. It creates a very toxic quiet environment where honest open communication is completely impossible. People begin to carefully hide their true genuine feelings. They hide their deep sadness and their natural ordinary fears. They wear a thick heavy mask of false perfection to survive your strict demands. And when you are only loving a thick fake mask, you are totally disconnected from the real breathing person underneath. You are completely isolated in your own strict lonely world. To step out of this painful heavy trap, we must deeply examine our own daily intentions. We must bravely ask ourselves why we are truly holding on to a specific person. Are we loving them for who they truly are deep inside their soul? Or are we only loving how they make us feel about ourselves? True love does not ask for a single thing in return. True love is exactly like the bright warm morning sun. The huge sun shines its beautiful golden light on the tall green trees and the rough dirty stones equally. It does not ask the tall trees to bloom in return. It does not demand the rough stones to shine brightly. It simply offers its lovely warmth because shining is its absolute true nature. When you love someone unconditionally, you do not keep a heavy mental scorecard. You do not demand a perfectly equal exchange of sweet favors. You give your warm affection simply because your own heart is full of deep joy. You completely accept the other person even when they are struggling and deeply flawed. You hold their hand very firmly when they are standing on top of the bright mountain. You hold their hand even tighter when they fall down into the dark deep valley. This kind of pure genuine love is extremely rare. It requires a completely selfless open mind. It requires you to entirely drop the heavy tight armor of your own ego. But letting go of these strict conditions is deeply terrifying for the fragile human heart. We use these rigid rules to secretly protect our deep hidden vulnerabilities. We use them to build a tall safe wall around our own old painful wounds. We are deeply terrified that if we love without any conditions, we will be terribly hurt again. We fear we will be completely abandoned in our darkest and most difficult hour. This deep terrifying fear does not come from the present moment. It does not come from the person standing right in front of you. It comes from a much older and much deeper place inside your own anxious mind. It comes from the quiet wounded spaces we have stubbornly ignored for a very long time. To truly love another person without strict conditions, we must first look bravely inward. We must travel deep into the silent and lonely rooms of our own past. We must travel deep into the silent and lonely rooms of our own past. When we finally open those heavy dark doors, we do not find a strong adult. We find a very small and deeply frightened child. This invisible child lives quietly inside every single one of us. This is the exact place where our deepest suffering truly begins. When we were very young, our hearts were completely open and incredibly fragile. We absorbed absolutely everything from the big world around us. We desperately needed to feel entirely safe. We desperately needed to feel completely loved and highly valued. But the complex world is rarely perfect. Many of us experienced deep emotional pain during those early tender years. Perhaps you felt entirely ignored by your very busy parents. Perhaps you were harshly criticized for making very simple childish mistakes. Perhaps you witnessed loud, terrifying arguments that shattered your quiet, peaceful home. Or perhaps you felt you had to be absolutely perfect just to receive a tiny drop of warm attention. These painful early experiences create a massive hidden wound in the mind. They leave a deep dark void inside the human soul. The small child inside us begins to believe a very tragic lie. The child believes they are simply not good enough to be loved exactly as they are. We physically grow up into strong, capable adults. We get important jobs and we build entirely new lives. But the frightened little child remains frozen deep inside our anxious minds. The child is still crying silently in the dark. The child is still desperately waiting for someone to offer true unconditional safety. Because we do not know how to heal this old deep wound ourselves, we look fiercely outside. We walk out into the vast complex world of adult relationships. We look for a romantic partner to magically fix our broken past. We unknowingly ask a complete stranger to become the perfect parent we never had. Let us picture a very profound and sad story of a desperate traveler. A lonely man was walking through a massive hot dry desert. The bright burning sun beat down heavily on his tired head. The hot yellow sand burned his sore aching feet. He had completely run out of fresh drinking water many days ago. His throat was terribly dry and entirely swollen. He felt a fierce burning thirst that consumed his entire mind. He desperately needed a few sweet drops of cool water to survive. He stumbled blindly across the vast empty desert. He looked everywhere for a tiny sign of green life. Suddenly he looked far across the distant horizon. He saw a huge beautiful lake shining brightly under the hot sun. The water looked incredibly blue and perfectly cool. He felt a massive sudden rush of intense hope. He gathered all his remaining weak energy. He started running wildly toward the beautiful shining water. He ran for many long, completely exhausted hours. He ignored the sharp pain in his heavy legs. He ignored his rapidly beating heart. He only focused on reaching that beautiful perfect lake. But a tragic thing happened as he ran further and further. The beautiful lake never actually got any closer. It constantly moved further away with every single desperate step he took. It was never a real lake of fresh cool water at all. It was only a cruel shimmering mirage created by the hot desert heat. It was a complete and absolute illusion. The traveler eventually collapsed entirely in the hot dry sand. He wept bitterly as the fake water faded into nothing but dry empty air. While the desperate man was running blindly forward, he missed a very important hidden truth. Right beside his own original footprints, there was a small quiet stone well. The deep well was filled to the very top with clear, perfectly cool water. It was completely real and entirely safe. But the thirsty man never once stopped to look down at his own feet. He never looked quietly inward. He only looked far away at the impossible shining illusion. He died of a terrible burning thirst while entirely ignoring the real sweet water waiting quietly right beside him. We behave exactly like this highly desperate and thirsty traveler. The fierce burning thirst is our own deep internal emptiness. It is the unhealed crying of our frightened inner child. The vast hot desert is the lonely complex world we live in. When we meet an attractive and kind person, we instantly see a beautiful shimmering mirage. We deeply convince ourselves that they are the massive lake of cool water. We truly believe they will finally quench our lifelong burning thirst. We believe their romantic love will magically erase all our old painful childhood wounds. We run blindly and desperately toward them. We attach our entire heavy existence to their daily presence. We demand them to constantly assure us that we are completely worthy. We beg them to entirely fill the massive dark hole inside our souls. We want them to make us feel perfectly safe from all our old hidden terrors. But no ordinary human being can ever be your permanent infinite lake. They are just another struggling traveler in the exact same vast desert. They have their own deep unhealed thirst. They carry their own frightened inner child. When we place the entire heavy weight of our past onto their tired shoulders, the relationship begins to crack. They eventually become completely exhausted by our endless desperate demands. They feel they are being entirely consumed by our intense burning hunger. They naturally start to pull away to protect their own precious energy. When they pull away, our beautiful shining mirage entirely collapses. We fall down into the cold dry sand of bitter disappointment. We feel deeply abandoned and entirely betrayed. We feel far more empty and much more thirsty than we ever felt before. We must firmly decide to stop running blindly across the hot, painful sand. We must immediately stop chasing the impossible illusion of a perfect magical savior. No romantic partner will ever heal the deep wounds of your difficult past. They cannot go back in time and rescue the frightened small child. You are the only person in the entire universe who holds that incredible power. You must gently stop your frantic running. You must look quietly and peacefully down at your own feet. You have a deep clear well completely hidden inside your own awakened mind. This beautiful deep well is the profound healing power of self-compassion. You must actively choose to sit quietly by this cool peaceful well every single day. You must close your tired eyes and gently speak to the frightened child inside your heart. You must listen carefully to their old deep fears without any harsh angry judgment. You must hold your own invisible sorrow with immense pure tenderness. You must clearly tell that small child that they are entirely safe right now. You must provide the warm unconditional love you never truly received in the past. When you slowly drink the cool sweet water from your own internal well, a massive beautiful shift happens. The terrible burning thirst completely disappears from your mind. The heavy dark void is entirely filled with bright warm light. You no longer walk into a human relationship as a desperate starving beggar. You no longer desperately hunt for someone to save your life. You walk into the connection as a completely whole and deeply peaceful human being. You do not strictly demand the other person to be your ultimate source of survival. You simply stand calmly beside them. You share your own cool sweet water with them freely and joyfully. You love them simply for who they are, not for what they can do to fix your broken soul. But until we bravely do this profound internal work, we remain entirely trapped in a dark destructive cycle. We constantly mistake our desperate hunger for deep genuine affection. We completely confuse a burning selfish desire with pure noble love. This profound dangerous confusion creates a highly destructive fire in the heart. It is the wild consuming fire of deep craving. And craving is something completely entirely different from true love. Craving is something completely entirely different from true love. We often use the word love to describe a fierce burning hunger in our hearts. We say we love someone because we cannot live without them. We say we love them because they make us feel completely alive. But if we look very closely at these intense feelings, we will clearly see a hidden truth. This intense feeling is not pure love. It is a desperate and heavy craving. Craving is a dark force that always seeks to consume. It is a highly selfish desire to take something for yourself. It wants to completely devour the object of its affection. True love is the exact opposite. True love only seeks to nourish. It only seeks to gently support the growth of another soul. Let us explore a profound story about a beautiful wild forest. High up on a quiet majestic mountain, there was a lush green forest. The ancient trees were incredibly tall and deeply rooted in the rich soil. They provided beautiful cool shade. One warm dry afternoon, a tiny spark of fire was born near the edge of the woods. The fire looked up at the magnificent tall trees. It was entirely captivated by their massive beauty. It felt a strong burning desire to be very close to them. The bright fire proudly declared its deep love for the forest. It told the tall trees that it would protect them from the cold dark winter. It promised to wrap its bright warm arms around every single trunk. Driven by this intense burning passion, the fire began to run wildly through the green woods. It fiercely hugged the ancient trees with its bright red flames. It thought it was giving them a beautiful warm embrace. But the absolute nature of fire is to consume completely. The fire cannot give life. It can only take life away to sustain its own burning hunger. As the fire hugged the trees tighter and tighter, the thick bark began to turn entirely black. The beautiful green leaves quickly dried up and fell to the ground. In a matter of a few short hours, the beautiful lush forest was completely destroyed. All that remained was a silent field of dark gray ash. The wildfire eventually died down. As its last tiny flame faded away, the fire felt deeply heartbroken. It wondered why the beautiful trees had disappeared. It honestly believed it had loved them perfectly. It never once realized that its tight, heavy embrace was actually a deadly poison. The fire completely destroyed the exact thing it claimed to love so much. Its intense passion was never truly love at all. It was only a blind, destructive craving. We must be extremely honest with our own deeply hidden intentions. Are we acting like a gentle, nourishing rain? Or are we acting like a wild, consuming fire? When you are driven purely by craving, you completely exhaust your partner. You constantly demand their precious time. You demand their total focus and all their emotional energy. You want to wrap your arms around them so tightly that they cannot breathe freely. You falsely call this intense jealousy true romantic passion. But the other person slowly begins to turn into dark gray ash. They lose their bright natural joy. They become a totally empty shell of the person they used to be. You are secretly using their vital life force to feed your own deep insecurities. You are burning their beautiful green leaves just to keep yourself warm in the dark. True love behaves exactly like the cool, gentle rain. The soft rain falls quietly from the gray clouds. It lands gently on the dry soil. It entirely respects the deep roots of the ancient trees. The rain simply offers its cool moisture and allows the forest to grow at its own perfect pace. The rain brings beautiful new life instead of dark, tragic death. The trees become much stronger and far more vibrant because the rain visited them. When you feel the wild fire of craving start to burn inside your chest, you must stop immediately. You must take a very deep and quiet breath. Ask yourself what you are truly trying to take from this person right now. Are you feeling completely insecure and demanding their praise to feel worthy? When you clearly see the hidden craving, you can gently choose a completely different path. You can choose to give them beautiful, spacious freedom. You can genuinely celebrate their personal success without making it about yourself. This shift from destructive craving to true nourishing love takes immense daily practice. When you finally stop consuming the people you care about, a magnificent miracle happens. The relationship becomes a beautiful safe haven. You deeply understand that true affection never restricts. You clearly see that the highest form of love is the complete gift of genuine freedom. The highest form of love is the complete gift of genuine freedom. We often hear the word freedom and feel a sudden wave of fear. We mistakenly think giving freedom means pushing someone away. But true freedom is entirely different. It means you truly want the other person to be happy. You want them to be happy even if their happiness does not include you. Let us look closely at a beautiful story. There was a wise older woman who lived in a quiet village. She lived alone in a small wooden house with a large bright window. One cold rainy morning she found a tiny beautiful bird lying wet on the ground. It was shivering violently in the cold mud. The wise woman gently picked up the tiny creature. She brought it inside her warm, safe house. She dried its wet feathers with a soft, clean cloth. For many long weeks she cared for the beautiful bird. As the bird slowly healed, it began to sing. It sang the most magnificent songs every single morning. The sweet melody filled the house with immense pure joy. Spring eventually arrived with warm golden sunlight. The bird was entirely healed. It hopped onto the window sill and looked up at the vast blue sky. It flapped its strong, healthy wings. The wise woman stood quietly and watched her beloved friend. She knew she could easily build a beautiful silver cage. She could lock the bird inside her warm house forever. But she realized that keeping the bird trapped would slowly kill its joyful spirit. Her deep love for the bird was much stronger than her personal desire to keep it. She slowly opened the large glass window completely wide. She gently offered her open hand. She did not force the bird to leave. The beautiful bird hopped onto her warm finger. It sang one final sweet melody. Then it spread its bright wings and flew high into the vast blue sky. Her house was silent again. But her heart was filled with a massive, profound peace. She had given the beautiful gift of absolute freedom. This profound wisdom must be applied to our human relationships. When you truly love someone, you must keep the large glass window completely open. You must never build a silver cage of strict demands. You must want them to reach their beautiful potential. We suffer immensely because we try to close the heavy window. We use our anger to keep people trapped inside our own small world. When you open the window of your heart, something magical happens. The people you love feel entirely safe with you. Because your love is a safe, warm nest, they will often choose to fly right back to your open hand. They return purely out of their own free, joyful choice. Love that is freely chosen is the most powerful force in the entire world. To reach this state of pure open love, we must face our deepest hidden pain. We must look at the heavy resentments we hold tightly. We cannot offer a safe open window if our hearts are filled with bitter poison. We must learn the profound, delicate art of absolute forgiveness. We must gently wash the dark mud away from our own tired souls. We must gently wash the dark mud away from our own tired souls. But this is an incredibly difficult task. Forgiving someone who deeply hurt us feels completely impossible. We want them to suffer heavily for the deep pain they caused. We hold on to our sharp anger like a heavy protective sword. We truly think this burning anger protects us from being hurt again. We strongly believe our bitter resentment is a strict punishment for their cruel mistakes. But we must stop and ask a very important question. Who is truly being punished by this heavy burning anger? Who is truly feeling the sharp daily pain of this bitter grudge? Let us look closely at a profound story from a distant land. There was once a very brave and strong warrior. He was highly respected by everyone in his quiet village. He had a very close companion whom he trusted entirely. They fought many difficult battles side by side. But one dark night his trusted companion deeply betrayed him. The companion stole the warrior's most valuable golden sword. The companion quickly ran away into the deep dark forest. The warrior woke up and found his precious sword completely gone. He was instantly consumed by a blinding fierce rage. He stood up and swore a very loud angry oath. He promised the sky he would never ever forgive this terrible betrayal. To constantly remember his deep anger, he walked down to the fast-moving river. He picked up a massive heavy gray rock from the cold water. He carved the name of his enemy clearly into the rough stone. He placed the huge rock inside his thick leather bag. He carried this heavy bag perfectly everywhere he went. He carried it while walking through the high green mountains. He carried it while eating his simple daily meals. He even held the heavy bag tightly against his chest while sleeping in his bed. Many long years quickly passed by. The heavy gray rock made his strong broad shoulders ache terribly. His straight back slowly became completely bent and twisted. He could no longer run swiftly across the open fields. He could no longer lift a sword to defend his quiet village. He spent absolutely all his precious vital energy just carrying the massive weight. His bright joyful eyes turned very dark and deeply bitter. He lost all his beautiful friends because he only talked about his angry revenge. His entire existence became a very dark and lonely prison. One hot dry afternoon he collapsed completely on a dusty yellow road. He could not take a single step further. A gentle wise traveler walked by and saw his deeply twisted body. The traveler looked carefully at the heavy leather bag. The traveler gently asked the fallen warrior to simply drop the useless rock. The warrior angrily refused the wise suggestion. He loudly shouted that the heavy rock was his absolute righteous justice. He said he must carry it to properly punish his evil enemy. The gentle traveler shook his head with immense deep pity. The traveler pointed out a very sad and entirely obvious truth. The former companion was living entirely free far away across the vast ocean. The enemy did not feel the crushing heavy weight of the rock at all. The enemy was not suffering from the warrior's dark burning rage. The brave warrior was only crushing his own beautiful precious life. He was entirely destroying his own body and his own soul. He was doing exactly what his enemy had completely failed to do. We constantly do this exact same tragic thing in our own daily lives. When someone breaks our deep trust, we pick up a massive heavy rock. We carve their cruel name into our own soft hearts. We carry the heavy bitter memory with us every single day. We wake up entirely exhausted because we sleep with deep resentment. We talk about their terrible betrayal to anyone who will listen. We proudly carry our deep anger as if it is a shining badge of honor. We truly believe that our prolonged silent suffering somehow punishes the person who hurt us. This is a massive and highly dangerous illusion. Holding on to deep anger is exactly like drinking a deadly poison. You drink the dark bitter poison every single morning. And you deeply expect the other person to slowly die from it. But the other person is completely unaffected by your silent toxic rage. They have already moved on to a completely new chapter of their lives. They might be laughing brightly in a completely different city. They might be sleeping very peacefully under a completely different sky. You are the only human being drinking the bitter poison. You are the only one suffering from the highly toxic heavy weight. True forgiveness is not a special gift you give to the person who hurt you. Forgiveness is not saying that their cruel actions were entirely correct. It does not mean you must quickly invite them back into your peaceful home. It does not magically erase the terrible things they did in the past. Forgiveness is a profound and necessary gift you give completely to yourself. You gently open your tired hands and drop the heavy gray rock. You drop the massive useless weight so you can finally stand up straight again. You forgive them purely because your own beautiful heart deserves absolute lasting peace. You must deeply realize that you have a completely new life to live. You have beautiful bright mountains to climb. You have deep clear rivers to cross. You cannot make this wonderful long journey carrying a heavy bag of old resentments. You must bravely choose to travel very light. When you finally decide to release the burning anger, a massive physical relief washes over your entire body. Your tight chest suddenly opens wide. Your shallow breathing becomes deeply slow and entirely relaxed. The dark gray clouds finally leave your highly anxious mind. The delicate process of releasing this anger requires immense daily patience. The bitter thoughts will naturally try to return. The heavy dark memories will frequently visit your quiet mind. When they suddenly appear, do not fight them with more anger. Simply look at them very calmly. Acknowledge the deep old pain without feeding it any new energy. Tell yourself clearly that you are no longer a bitter prisoner of the painful past. You choose to walk away from the heavy gray rock every single time it appears. You refuse to drink the dark bitter poison ever again. When you entirely drop the heavy weight of resentment, your clear vision suddenly returns. You step entirely out of the dark shadow of being a helpless victim. You begin to see absolutely everything with profound pure clarity. You realize that the intense pain they caused was actually a powerful hidden teacher. The deeply painful relationship was not just a terrible random tragedy. It was an incredibly clear and bright mirror. And this clear mirror perfectly reflects our own hidden flaws and our own deep dangerous attachments. The deeply painful relationship was an incredibly clear and bright mirror. This clear mirror perfectly reflects our own hidden flaws. It clearly shows our own deep dangerous attachments. When we experience immense pain in love, we usually look strictly outward. We completely focus all our attention on the other person. We angrily list their terrible mistakes. We firmly believe they are the sole cause of our deep suffering. But true wisdom asks us to gently turn our gaze completely around. Every single relationship in our lives is a profound living mirror. The people we love deeply reflect our own internal state back to us. If you constantly attract people who abandon you, the mirror is showing you a hidden truth. It shows your own terrifying fear of being entirely alone. If you constantly feel deeply disrespected in love, the mirror is reflecting your own lack of strong self-respect. The immense pain you feel is simply the mirror showing you where you desperately need to heal. Let us look closely at a powerful story from an ancient kingdom. There was a very proud and powerful queen. She lived in a grand palace with beautiful tall glass mirrors. When she was young, she loved looking at her own reflection. But time is an entirely unstoppable force. Many long stressful years passed by. Her bright joyful eyes became very tired and dull. One cold morning, she walked past a large mirror. She saw a very old and terribly sad woman staring back at her. The proud queen was instantly filled with blinding rage. She completely refused to accept her own aging face. She angrily shouted that the tall mirror was entirely defective. She loudly claimed the glass was purposely making her look terrible. She ordered her royal guards to smash the mirror into tiny pieces. She became totally obsessed with destroying every single mirror in the kingdom. Eventually, the entire massive palace had absolutely no mirrors left. But destroying the clear glass did not change her face at all. She blindly refused to accept the profound truth they showed her. We behave exactly like this angry proud queen in our own relationships. We look into the living mirror of our romantic partner. The relationship clearly shows us our own deep unhealed wounds. It reflects our heavy insecurities and our rigid selfish ego. But instead of looking bravely at our own flaws, we violently attack the mirror. We angrily blame our partner for making us feel highly anxious. When the relationship finally shatters, we quickly find a completely new partner. We find a shiny new mirror to look into. But after a short time, the exact same deep pain returns. We continue to break mirror after mirror. We never realize that the actual source of the deep pain is standing right inside our own minds. To stop this highly destructive cycle, we must stop breaking the clear mirrors. We must bravely look at the painful reflection with entirely open eyes. When your partner triggers a deep sudden anger inside you, simply pause. Do not throw sharp words at them. Quietly ask yourself why you are reacting with such fierce intense emotion. What old hidden wound is this specific situation touching? You start taking full responsibility for your own deep emotional reactions. The living mirror simply reveals the heavy dark shadows you have hidden inside your own soul. When you accept this truth, you stop trying to change the people around you. You focus all your precious energy on healing your own deep wounds. As your mind becomes completely secure, the living mirror naturally changes. You realize that to change the whole world, you only need to gently change yourself. Making this profound change requires immense bravery and the willingness to let go. Making this profound change requires immense bravery and the willingness to let go. Letting go is perhaps the most difficult action for the human heart. We are deeply conditioned to hold on tightly. We hold on to beautiful memories of the past. We hold on to our deep hopes for the future. We even hold on to our own sharp pain. We are terrified of letting go because we fear the unknown. We think letting go means giving up completely. We think it means we have entirely failed in our relationships. But letting go is not a failure at all. It is a profound act of spiritual triumph. It is the ultimate release of a heavy burden you were never meant to carry. Let us deeply reflect on a powerful story of a traveling merchant. There was once a wealthy merchant who traveled across a vast desert. He carried a very heavy bag of gold coins. He had worked his entire life to earn this shiny gold. He loved the heavy weight of the bag against his back. It made him feel entirely safe and highly successful. One dark afternoon the sky suddenly turned entirely black. A massive terrifying sandstorm was quickly approaching from the horizon. The wind howled loudly across the empty dunes. The merchant knew he had to run very fast to reach the nearest shelter. He started to run with all his remaining strength. But the heavy bag of gold slowed him down terribly. His feet sank deeply into the soft dry sand. The dark storm was getting closer and closer. He was completely exhausted and could barely take another step. A wise monk happened to be running on the exact same path. The monk carried absolutely nothing but a simple wooden bowl. The monk looked at the struggling merchant and spoke clearly. He told the merchant to drop the heavy bag of gold immediately. He said the heavy weight would surely cost him his precious life. The merchant was deeply horrified by this simple suggestion. He looked at the gold and then looked at the dark storm. He loudly cried out, "How can I drop my entire life savings?" He firmly believed his life had no value without the heavy gold. He chose to keep the bag tightly secured to his chest. He tried to run again, but his tired legs completely failed him. The massive sandstorm completely swallowed him and his heavy treasure. The wise monk ran swiftly and safely reached the distant shelter. The monk survived simply because he knew exactly when to drop the unnecessary weight. We are exactly like this exhausted merchant in our daily lives. The heavy bag of gold is our deep attachment to a specific person. It is our intense desire to control a romantic outcome. We carry this massive emotional weight everywhere we go. We firmly believe our entire identity depends on keeping this heavy connection alive. When a dark storm of conflict arrives, we refuse to let go. We try to carry the heavy burden through the terrible emotional storm. We entirely exhaust our own precious mental health. We sacrifice our deep inner peace just to hold on to a dying relationship. You must clearly ask yourself a very important question: is this heavy attachment truly worth your entire peace of mind? You must bravely recognize when the emotional weight is pulling you down into the dark sand. Letting go is simply dropping the heavy bag of gold. It is a firm realization that your beautiful life is far more valuable than any relationship. When you finally drop the heavy bag, your tired spirit instantly lifts. You can finally breathe clearly again. You can run swiftly toward a safe and peaceful future. The immense courage to let go brings absolute freedom to your anxious mind. This beautiful freedom creates an empty space inside your soul. And this bright empty space is perfectly ready to discover true wholeness. This bright empty space is perfectly ready to discover true wholeness. For our entire lives we are taught a very beautiful but highly dangerous myth. We are constantly told that we are only half of a complete soul. We grow up firmly believing we must wander the vast world looking for our missing piece. We search desperately for someone to completely finish us. We call them our better half. We truly believe that without them we are fundamentally broken and totally incomplete. This single false belief is the deep root of our most agonizing suffering in love. It creates a dark void of constant heavy anxiety. We feel we are never truly enough entirely on our own. When we firmly believe we are only a broken half, we enter relationships from a place of deep terrifying fear. We do not love from a beautiful place of bright abundance. We love from a very dark place of absolute emotional starvation. We cling tightly to the other person because we think our very survival depends entirely on their daily presence. If they leave us, we feel we will be torn entirely in half once again. We place the massive crushing weight of our entire existence onto their tired shoulders. We strictly demand that they magically fix our deep internal emptiness. But no ordinary human being can ever complete your complex soul. No romantic partner can ever make you truly whole. You were never actually broken in the first place. Let us look high up at the vast dark night sky and observe a very profound story. There was a quiet time when the moon looked down at the sleeping earth and felt entirely alone. It was the middle of the long month and the moon only showed half of its bright beautiful face. The other half was completely hidden in deep dark silent shadow. The half-moon looked at its own clear reflection in the calm still water of a deep mountain lake. It clearly saw its sharp broken edge. It saw its highly incomplete and strange shape. The half-moon began to weep bitterly in the quiet dark sky. It cried heavy tears because it felt so incredibly broken and so deeply imperfect. The sad half-moon desperately asked the bright shining stars to help fix its broken shape. It begged the passing soft gray clouds to fill its dark empty space. It felt intense bitter jealousy toward the perfect round golden sun that ruled the bright warm day. The moon thought it was cursed to forever wander the dark night as a useless broken fragment. A very old and incredibly wise star heard the sad weeping of the lonely moon. The wise star twinkled brightly and spoke a very gentle profound truth. The star told the weeping moon to stop looking only at the bright illuminated surface. The star told the moon to look far deeper into its own dark silent shadow. The sad moon gently stopped crying and looked very closely at its own hidden dark side. Slowly it began to realize a magnificent and truly profound truth. The dark missing half was never actually missing at all. It was simply resting very quietly in the deep peaceful shadow. The moon was always a completely perfect and entirely round sphere. It was always fully whole and magnificently complete. It only looked broken because the bright light of the sun was not hitting its entire rocky surface. The moon did not need to steal any light from the distant stars to become complete. It did not need the passing gray clouds to fill any deep dark void. It only needed to deeply realize its own absolute true nature. You are exactly like this beautiful weeping moon. You often feel deeply broken and entirely incomplete inside your own mind. You look at the dark empty spaces inside your own heavy heart and you cry bitter lonely tears. You desperately chase after bright shiny romantic relationships to quickly light up your dark side. You beg other people to give you their precious warm light so you can finally feel whole. But the profound universal truth is exactly the same for you as it is for the silent moon. You are already entirely complete right now. You are already a perfectly whole sphere of magnificent breathing life. Your deep dark shadows are not ugly broken pieces. They are simply quiet parts of your own soul that need your own warm gentle light. True wholeness does not come from finding a perfect flawless romantic partner. True wholeness comes from a profound internal spiritual awakening. It comes from looking directly into your own deep hidden shadows without any trace of fear. It comes from beautifully accepting absolutely every single part of your own complex being. You must embrace your deep terrors and your old heavy emotional scars. You must accept your bright joyful light and your quiet dark sadness entirely equally. When you deeply realize that you are already whole, your entire approach to human love changes completely. You no longer wander the vast lonely world as a desperate starving beggar. You walk the earth as a completely rich and fully generous peaceful king. You do not enter a new romantic relationship to selfishly take something for yourself. You enter the bright relationship to generously share your own beautiful quiet completeness. Two truly whole people coming together create a magnificently powerful connection. They do not feed on each other like desperate hungry ghosts in the dark. They stand tall and beautifully independent exactly like two strong ancient green trees. Their leafy branches might gently touch in the cool morning wind. Their deep strong roots might grow quietly next to each other in the rich dark soil. But they do not forcefully lean on each other to simply survive the day. If a strong violent wind blows one tree down, the other tree will still stand perfectly strong and entirely tall. To reach this beautiful state of absolute lasting wholeness, you must learn to sit very quietly with yourself. You must learn to deeply enjoy your own quiet silent company. Many anxious people are completely terrified of being entirely alone in a room. They constantly fill their quiet days with loud useless noise and busy endless distractions. They quickly jump from one painful broken relationship right into another just to avoid facing their own silent minds. But true deep lasting peace is only found exactly in that absolute total silence. You must eventually become your own best and most trusted reliable companion. You must learn to gently hold your own trembling hand during the dark, scary, stormy nights. When you finally stop running away from your own quiet presence, you discover an endless deep ocean of pure love inside your own chest. You realize that the absolute true source of genuine happiness was always beating quietly right inside you. You completely stop demanding the outside world to magically heal your deep internal pain. You become entirely self-sufficient in your own deep emotional life. This profound emotional independence gives you the incredible quiet strength to forgive freely. It gives you the vast beautiful capacity to look at the people who have hurt you with completely new and totally open eyes. You no longer see them as cruel evil monsters who broke your delicate fragile heart. You begin to see them through a very clear and entirely different lens. You begin to see them through a very clear and entirely different lens. You start to look at them through the pure bright lens of genuine compassion. When someone breaks our deep trust, we instantly label them as highly evil. We truly believe they carefully plan to completely destroy our happy lives. We think their cruel actions were a deliberate personal attack against our precious souls. But if you look very closely at human nature, you will discover a profound hidden truth. Happy and truly peaceful people never intentionally destroy the happiness of others. Only deeply hurting people inflict heavy pain on the world around them. They hurt you simply because they are completely lost inside their own dark ignorance. They are desperately trying to find a tiny drop of comfort for their own deep agonizing pain. Let us picture a very profound and deeply touching story. Imagine a large, bright, and heavily crowded room. Many happy people are walking around and talking joyfully together. Suddenly, a man violently bumps into your shoulder. He steps heavily on your tired feet. He pushes you harshly against the hard stone wall. Your hot coffee spills all over your clean white shirt. Your initial reaction is entirely predictable. You feel a massive sudden wave of hot blinding anger. You loudly shout at the highly careless man. You angrily demand a sincere apology for his rude and terrible behavior. You truly believe he intentionally decided to ruin your beautiful quiet morning. You think he is an incredibly arrogant and highly selfish human being. You raise your hand, and you prepare to push him forcefully away. But right before you strike him, you look closely at his tired face. You notice that his eyes are completely covered with a thick dark cloth. He is holding a long thin wooden stick in his trembling hands. You suddenly realize the profound and deeply sad truth. The man is completely blind. He cannot see the bright room. He cannot see the large crowds of happy people. He cannot see the hot coffee or your clean white shirt. He is just stumbling blindly through a world of absolute terrifying darkness. In that exact magnificent moment, your intense burning anger completely vanishes. It disappears instantly into thin air. You do not feel the urge to shout loudly anymore. You do not want to forcefully push him away. Your sharp heavy rage is immediately replaced by a massive wave of pure gentle compassion. You gently reach out your warm hands. You softly help him find his steady balance again. You gently guide him entirely away from the large busy crowd. You do this because you deeply understand that his harmful actions were never a personal attack. His clumsy actions were simply the tragic result of his own deep profound blindness. We must apply this exact same profound wisdom to the people who break our hearts. The person who lied to you is deeply spiritually blind. The person who betrayed your profound trust cannot see the heavy damage they are creating. They are stumbling violently through the highly complex emotional world. They are completely blinded by their own heavy greed. They are blinded by their own terrifying deep insecurities. They are desperately swinging their thin wooden sticks in the absolute dark. They accidentally hit your fragile soul while trying to protect their own deeply frightened ego. When you deeply realize this profound truth, your heavy chest feels completely light. You finally stop taking their highly cruel behavior so personally. You clearly see that their betrayal was never truly about your own worth. Their terrible actions were a loud, desperate reflection of their own internal chaos. You do not need to constantly punish them. You do not need to seek painful dark revenge. The heavy dark karma they are blindly creating is their own terrible strict punishment. They have to live every single day inside their own chaotic blind minds. This profound realization is the absolute birthplace of true genuine compassion. True compassion does not mean you simply allow people to physically or emotionally hurt you. It does not mean you invite the blind man to constantly step on your tired feet every single day. You can establish incredibly firm and perfectly healthy boundaries. You can gently ask the person to completely leave your peaceful life. You can completely close the heavy wooden door to your private quiet home. But you do this with a completely soft and deeply peaceful heart. You close the heavy door not out of bitter burning rage. You close it purely to protect your own beautiful steady light. You stand behind the closed door, and you silently wish them true healing. You deeply hope they eventually find their own bright vision. You hope they eventually learn to stop bumping violently into the innocent people of the world. This profound silent wish frees your own soul from the heavy toxic chains of deep hatred. When you stop hating the people who hurt you, something beautiful happens. You reclaim all your highly precious vital energy. You no longer waste your quiet mornings thinking about their cruel past mistakes. You no longer waste your peaceful nights dreaming about strict painful justice. You gather all that beautiful bright energy, and you gently return it to yourself. You use it to heal your own heavy emotional scars. You use it to water the beautiful green garden of your own quiet mind. What does it mean to truly forgive someone who cannot even say, "I am sorry"? It means you stop waiting for their apology to start your own healing. You give yourself the clear permission to find absolute peace today. You deeply understand that a spiritually blind person cannot see the mess they left behind. Expecting them to perfectly clean up your broken heart is highly unrealistic. You gently pick up your own broken pieces with immense loving care. This profound shift requires immense daily mindful practice. Our highly anxious ego constantly wants to be the angry victim. The ego loves to silently replay the painful sad stories. When the dark angry thoughts naturally arise, you must gently remind yourself of the blind man. You must kindly tell your own anxious mind that the person was completely lost. You repeat this profound gentle truth until your heavy heart truly believes it. Slowly, the sharp deep pain completely softens. The bitter heavy memory loses its absolute terrifying power over your daily life. You look back at the broken past, and you only feel a deep quiet acceptance. You realize that absolutely every single person is doing the absolute best they can with their current level of deep awareness. Some people simply have a very low and entirely dark level of awareness. You deeply accept their profound limitations without forcing them to quickly change. This magnificent level of deep compassion fundamentally changes how you interact with the entire world. You become incredibly patient with the ordinary daily mistakes of strangers. You become deeply gentle with the small human flaws of your own close friends. You completely stop expecting absolute perfect behavior from highly flawed human beings. Your entire life becomes a beautiful, peaceful river of calm, gentle understanding. When you treat your own deep wounds with such pure tenderness, your heart naturally begins to expand. The heavy walls you built to protect yourself slowly melt away. You begin to see the exact same deep suffering in the eyes of absolutely everyone you meet. You see the hidden tears of the wealthy merchant. You see the quiet exhaustion of the powerful king. You realize that all human beings share the exact same fragile heart. We are all deeply connected by our shared human pain and our shared human joy. You realize that true love is not just about loving the bright, beautiful and perfect things. True genuine love is having immense gentle compassion for the dark, broken and entirely lost things. This beautiful realization completely destroys the painful illusion of separation. You no longer see yourself as a tiny isolated island of lonely suffering. You see yourself as a beautiful drop of water in a vast deep ocean of human experience. This incredible expanding compassion naturally prepares your heart for a much greater journey. It gently broadens your human heart beyond the narrow limits of personal romantic attachment. It gently broadens your human heart beyond the narrow limits of personal romantic attachment. We spend so much time searching for one specific person to love. We pour entirely all our beautiful emotional energy into one single romantic connection. We truly believe that this narrow romantic love is the absolute highest peak of human experience. But this is a very limited and deeply narrow way to experience the vastness of the human heart. When we only focus our deep affection on one specific person, our love becomes highly exclusive. We start to ignore the immense beauty of the wider world around us. We ignore the deep quiet suffering of our own close neighbors. We forget the warm gentle smiles of strangers on a busy street. We falsely think this tight defensive wall will protect our precious love. But it only isolates our tired souls from the vast magnificent universe. Let us deeply reflect on a beautiful story of a highly anxious small river. High up in the cold Rocky Mountains, a small fast river was born. It loved the tight muddy banks that guided its clear fresh water. It felt entirely safe running between the familiar heavy stones. The small river grew deeply attached to the beautiful green trees that stood by its sides. It thought this narrow familiar path was the entire universe. As the small river traveled further down, it heard a very strange and loud sound. It was the massive roaring sound of the deep vast ocean. The small river suddenly felt a profound terrifying fear. It realized that to join the magnificent ocean, it had to completely let go of its safe tight banks. It desperately wanted to remain a small safe river forever. But the natural force of the flowing water was incredibly strong. With a deep sigh of surrender, it finally let go completely. It rushed forward and entirely merged with the massive deep blue ocean. In that exact beautiful moment, an incredible magnificent transformation happened. The small river did not die at all. It instantly became the vast deep ocean itself. It became incredibly huge and entirely limitless. Its water now touched absolutely every single beautiful shore in the world. We are exactly like this highly anxious small river. Our personal romantic attachments are the tight muddy banks. We hold on to them so fiercely because they make us feel entirely safe. We are deeply terrified of letting go of our small limited love. We fear we will lose our entire identity if we do not belong to one single person. But true spiritual growth demands that we gently release our tight, desperate grip. When we bravely drop our narrow expectations, our love completely transforms. It entirely stops being a desperate small river. It suddenly becomes a vast, deep, magnificent ocean of pure universal compassion. You begin to deeply love absolutely everyone you meet without any strict heavy conditions. Your beautiful love is no longer trapped inside a tiny dark wooden box. It freely flows out into the vast open world exactly like bright warm sunlight. This vast universal compassion is incredibly powerful and deeply liberating. It entirely removes the terrifying heavy fear of lonely loss. When your heart is a vast deep ocean, you cannot lose a single drop of water. You deeply understand that you are profoundly connected to the entire breathing universe. This magnificent realization naturally teaches you the delicate art of simply being completely present. This magnificent realization naturally teaches you the delicate art of simply being completely present. To love in the vast ocean of universal compassion is to live entirely in the current moment. We spend so much of our precious lives traveling through time inside our own minds. We constantly visit the painful past to relive our old deep regrets. We frequently travel to the unknown future to worry about things that have not even happened. We are almost never truly awake in the exact moment we are actually living. This constant mental time travel completely destroys our capacity to experience deep joy. When we are sitting quietly with someone we deeply love, our bodies are present. But our minds are often miles away. We look at their beautiful smiling face. But instead of enjoying the warm smile, a dark anxious thought suddenly appears. We begin to wonder if they will still be smiling at us next year. We wonder if they will eventually leave us for someone else. We worry about losing them before we have even fully enjoyed having them. We completely ruin the beautiful peaceful present moment by dragging the terrifying future into it. Let us look closely at a very simple and deeply beautiful story. There was a very poor young child who lived in a small dusty village. The child had no fine silk clothes and no shiny heavy toys. The child often went to bed with a very empty and hungry stomach. One warm bright afternoon the child was walking near the edge of a deep green forest. There was a massive ancient tree with thick heavy branches. High up on one branch there was a single bright red fruit. The fruit looked incredibly sweet and perfectly ripe. The small child climbed the tall ancient tree carefully. The child gently picked the beautiful red fruit and climbed back down to the soft green grass. The child sat quietly under the cool shade of the massive tree. The child took a small slow bite of the sweet fruit. The juice was incredibly delicious. The child closed their eyes and simply tasted the pure sweetness. The child did not stop to worry about where tomorrow's meal would come from. The child did not feel sad about being terribly hungry the day before. The child did not wish for a second or third piece of fruit. The child was completely and entirely absorbed in the exact moment of eating that one single piece. Because the child was completely present, that simple fruit brought a massive wave of pure absolute joy. It was a joy far greater than the joy of a rich powerful king at a massive grand feast. Many wealthy kings sit at large heavy tables filled with rare expensive food. But their minds are filled with constant heavy terror. They worry about foreign armies crossing their borders. They constantly fear that their own servants might poison their sweet wine. Because their minds are entirely trapped in dark future fears, they cannot taste their delicious food. They chew the finest meat, but it tastes exactly like dry gray ash. They drink the sweetest wine, but it feels like bitter poison. We are often exactly like the highly anxious king when it comes to romantic love. We have a beautiful caring person sitting right next to us. They offer us the sweet bright fruit of their warm affection. But we completely refuse to simply sit under the tree and enjoy the delicious taste. We angrily demand a strict legal contract for the future. We demand an absolute guarantee that they will love us forever. We want to secure the love for the next 50 long years. But there is absolutely no lifetime guarantee in this constantly changing universe. No one can ever promise you exactly what will happen tomorrow morning. The future is an entirely empty room. It does not exist yet. The past is a completely burned down house. It does not exist anymore. The only place where real breathing life actually happens is right here and right now. The only place where true deep love can actually exist is in the present moment. To master the delicate art of being completely present, you must gently train your highly anxious mind. When you are drinking hot tea with your partner, you must just drink the hot tea. You must feel the warm cup against your soft hands. You must smell the fragrant green leaves. You must look directly into their bright eyes and truly see them. You must deeply appreciate the simple beautiful fact that they are alive and breathing right next to you. When the dark heavy thought of losing them suddenly enters your mind, you must not fight it. You simply recognize the cold fear. You take a very deep slow breath. You gently bring your entire focus back to the warm cup of tea. You tell your anxious mind that right now, in this exact precise second, everything is perfectly fine. Right now, you are completely safe. Right now, you are deeply loved. This simple daily practice entirely removes the heavy crushing weight from your romantic relationships. You no longer strictly demand the other person to secure your unknown future. You stop constantly asking them to make grand impossible promises. You simply appreciate the quiet beautiful effort they make today. You appreciate the kind simple words they speak today. You appreciate the warm gentle touch they offer today. When you love in this completely present way, you give your partner the beautiful gift of deep relaxation. They no longer feel like they are constantly taking a difficult stressful test. They feel deeply seen and completely appreciated for exactly who they are right now. They do not have to perform an exhausting heavy role. The relationship naturally becomes a highly peaceful and entirely safe harbor. The bright joyful laughter returns to your quiet home. The heavy dark clouds of constant suspicion entirely fade away. Appreciating love today without fearing the unknown tomorrow is the highest form of deep spiritual bravery. It means you are fully willing to be completely vulnerable. You are fully willing to open your soft heart to the bright warm sun today, even knowing that the cold rain might eventually fall tomorrow. You deeply accept that joy and sorrow are completely natural parts of the beautiful human journey. You truly understand that trying to avoid deep pain by closing your heart only leads to a highly numb and totally empty life. You bravely choose to live fully. You bravely choose to love deeply. You completely surrender to the unpredictable wild flow of the mysterious universe. You let go of the heavy tight steering wheel and simply enjoy the beautiful peaceful ride. But the magnificent human journey is entirely unpredictable. Even with the most mindful and deeply present heart, terrible tragic things can still happen. The seasons will eventually change. The deep connection might naturally fade away. Or a sudden harsh tragedy might completely break the beautiful warm bond. The heavy dark storm might completely shatter the peaceful safe harbor you built. When the heart does eventually break into 1,000 tiny pieces, the profound deep pain can feel entirely unbearable. We are forced to walk blindly through the absolute darkest valley of human suffering. We must carefully learn how to gather our broken pieces from the cold muddy ground. We must gently discover how to completely rebuild our shattered lives from the dark gray ashes of immense loss. We must gently discover how to completely rebuild our shattered lives from the dark gray ashes of immense loss. When a profound relationship completely ends, the human heart shatters. The pain is incredibly heavy and entirely suffocating. You feel like a massive dark storm has destroyed your entire safe world. You wake up in the morning and feel a crushing weight on your tired chest. The bright sun is shining outside. But your inner world is entirely dark. You walk through your quiet house and see ghosts of beautiful old memories. Every single corner reminds you of the warm love you have entirely lost. This period of intense grief is the darkest valley of human existence. Many people try to quickly escape this deep dark valley. They desperately try to run away from the sharp crushing pain. They quickly find new busy distractions to numb their deeply wounded minds. They might rush blindly into a completely new romantic relationship. They try to forcefully cover the bleeding wound with a fragile temporary bandage. But running away from profound grief never truly heals the broken soul. The heavy dark shadow will simply follow you everywhere you go. Let us listen to a profound story about a highly resilient village. Deep in a beautiful green valley, there was a small peaceful village. The villagers lived quietly in strong wooden houses with beautiful bright gardens. They were deeply proud of their safe and happy little world. One very hot dry summer, a terrible disaster suddenly struck the valley. A massive wildfire swept rapidly down from the high dry mountains. The fierce red flames consumed absolutely everything in their path. The beautiful wooden houses burned down entirely to the ground. The bright gardens were completely destroyed by the intense heavy heat. When the thick dark smoke finally cleared, the villagers wept bitter heavy tears. Their entire safe world was reduced to a massive field of dark gray ashes. They felt completely hopeless and deeply abandoned by the universe. They firmly believed their beautiful valley was completely dead and entirely ruined forever. Many cold dark months slowly passed by. Winter brought heavy freezing snow to cover the dark silent ashes. The villagers lived in temporary cold tents and mourned their incredible massive loss. Then a beautiful warm spring finally arrived in the valley. The thick cold snow slowly began to melt away. The villagers walked out into the open fields of dark gray ash. They looked down and saw an incredibly magnificent miracle. Millions of tiny bright green shoots were pushing up through the dark ashes. The intense fire had actually cracked open rare ancient seeds buried deep in the ground. The dark heavy ashes had created the absolute perfect rich soil for these seeds to grow. Within a few short weeks, the entire ruined valley was covered in breathtaking bright flowers. They were the most magnificent flowers the villagers had ever seen in their entire lives. The terrible dark destruction was actually the painful birth of an entirely new beautiful world. Your deeply shattered heart is exactly like this burned and ruined village. The sudden loss of love feels like a fierce destructive fire. It completely burns down all your beautiful future plans. It destroys your safe warm emotional home. You are left standing entirely alone in a dark silent field of gray ashes. You look at your broken life and truly believe you will never feel deep joy again. You think your capacity to love is completely dead and entirely gone. But you must gently trust the profound hidden wisdom of the natural universe. The deepest spiritual growth always requires a period of massive painful destruction. The dark heavy ashes of your broken relationship are incredibly rich soil. They are the perfect soil for entirely new and profound wisdom to grow. The intense fire of heartbreak burns away your heavy selfish ego. It completely burns away your blind unhealthy attachments. It forces you to look extremely deep inside your own quiet soul. In the profound teachings of the awakened ones, there is a beautiful clear symbol. It is the symbol of the magnificent pure lotus flower. The lotus does not grow in clean clear mountain water. It does not bloom on top of a perfectly dry clean rock. The magnificent lotus only grows in the absolute darkest and dirtiest mud. The thick-smelling mud represents our deep human suffering. It represents our bitter tears and our terribly broken hearts. Without the thick dark mud, the beautiful lotus seed cannot possibly grow. Your intense agonizing pain is the rich dark mud of your own spiritual awakening. Do not angrily reject the heavy mud. Do not try to wash it away too quickly. You must sit very quietly with your deep heavy grief. You must allow yourself to feel the sharp terrible pain entirely. You must cry all the heavy bitter tears your tired body needs to cry. Watering the dark mud with your own honest tears is a deeply necessary act of true healing. You must treat your own deep sorrow with absolute pure tenderness. As you patiently sit in the dark mud, a tiny green shoot of profound wisdom begins to grow. You start to understand the absolute fragile nature of all human connections. You realize that everything in this physical world is entirely temporary. This deep realization makes you incredibly strong and deeply humble. You no longer walk through life with a proud, arrogant ego. You walk with a very soft, highly gentle, and deeply open heart. You completely stop fighting against the natural flow of life. The person who emerges from the dark gray ashes is entirely different. You are much wiser than the naive person who originally entered the relationship. You are much stronger than the dependent person who desperately feared being entirely alone. You have bravely faced your absolute worst terrifying fear. And you have beautifully survived the heavy dark storm. You have learned how to gently hold your own completely broken pieces. You have learned how to be your own warm safe shelter. This profound deep healing process completely transforms your entire inner world. The deep sharp wounds slowly become beautiful golden scars of immense spiritual strength. You begin to look at the vast open sky with completely new and bright eyes. Your heart is no longer a small fragile glass cup waiting to be shattered. Your beautiful heart has become a vast magnificent blooming lotus. It rests perfectly peacefully above the thick dark mud of worldly suffering. It is entirely ready to experience the most profound and absolute state of true lasting calm. This magnificent lotus is entirely ready to experience the most profound and absolute state of true lasting calm. This beautiful lasting calm is the ultimate destination of our long human journey. It is a profound state of absolute emotional freedom. You no longer desperately seek love from the chaotic outside world. You no longer run blindly after temporary romantic illusions. You have successfully found the deep eternal spring of pure love inside your own awakened mind. This deep internal spring never dries up. It constantly flows with bright warm energy. You are completely full. You are entirely complete. Many people deeply misunderstand this profound state of spiritual peace. They think that letting go of heavy attachment means becoming completely cold. They fear that a peaceful heart is a highly numb and totally empty heart. They believe that without fierce burning craving there can be no true romance. But this is the final dangerous illusion we must entirely break. Letting go of heavy attachment does not mean you stop loving. It actually means you can finally love purely and completely. You can love deeply without the terrifying heavy fear of loss. You can give your entire heart without ever demanding a single thing in return. Let us look up at the vast open sky and deeply observe the magnificent golden sun. The bright sun has been shining beautifully for billions of long years. Every single morning it rises quietly above the high green mountains. It gently touches the dark sleeping world with its bright warm rays. It entirely wakes up the singing birds in the tall ancient trees. It gently opens the soft petals of the wild delicate flowers. It provides the essential vital heat for absolutely every single breathing creature on this earth. The sun gives away its immense bright energy entirely freely. But the magnificent sun never issues a strict heavy demand. It never asks the tall green trees to bow down in deep gratitude. It never demands the beautiful blooming flowers to turn their bright faces only toward its light. It never charges a heavy golden fee for its beautiful morning warmth. The sun simply shines because shining is its absolute true nature. If heavy dark clouds suddenly block its beautiful bright light, the sun does not become bitterly angry. If the earth slowly turns away and enters the cold dark night, the sun does not feel deeply betrayed. The sun simply waits patiently and continues to shine brightly exactly where it is. We are deeply invited to become exactly like this magnificent golden sun. We can radiate our pure warm love to absolutely everyone we meet. We can gently support our romantic partner with immense pure kindness. We can share our deep joyful laughter with our close friends. We can offer our warm gentle smile to complete strangers on a busy street. We give our beautiful affection simply because our hearts are completely full. We give love because love is our absolute true spiritual nature. We do not keep a heavy strict mental scorecard of our good deeds. We do not desperately wait for loud empty praises or deep endless gratitude. When you love exactly like the bright morning sun, you become entirely untouchable by worldly human suffering. If someone gently accepts your warm love, you feel deep quiet joy. If someone completely rejects your warm love, your deep inner peace remains entirely undisturbed. You deeply understand that their sad rejection has absolutely nothing to do with your own magnificent worth. It only reflects their own heavy dark clouds of intense fear and deep blind confusion. Your beautiful bright light is never diminished by their tragic inability to clearly see it. You simply continue to shine with immense quiet grace. You do not forcefully chase after those who choose to walk away. You completely respect their sacred right to walk their own difficult path. You gently release them back into the vast open world with a truly sincere and silent blessing. This profound release creates a highly magnificent energy around you. People will naturally feel incredibly safe when they stand near your bright warm presence. They will not feel the heavy toxic pressure of your old anxious expectations. They will simply feel deeply loved and entirely accepted exactly as they are. Your quiet peaceful energy becomes a powerful hidden medicine for the deeply wounded world. You heal the broken people around you simply by being completely whole yourself. You can still build a beautiful romantic life with another human being. You can still hold their warm hands and walk together under the vast starry sky. You can completely enjoy the sweet profound intimacy of a deeply committed relationship. You do all of this without the heavy toxic chains of desperate possession. You gently hold the beautiful relationship like dry fine sand in an entirely open palm. You completely enjoy the beautiful music of the relationship without trying to forcefully control the delicate wooden instrument. You deeply appreciate the fragile spring flower without strictly demanding it to bloom in the freezing dark winter. This is the absolute highest peak of true human emotional liberation. You are no longer a frightened, anxious prisoner of your own deep dark desires. You are a completely free and fully awakened living soul. You walk very lightly upon the green earth with a completely soft and truly open heart. The heavy painful burdens of your long difficult past have entirely melted away. The dark terrifying fears of your completely unknown future have entirely dissolved into clear thin air. You live perfectly and beautifully in the exact present moment. You deeply appreciate every single slow breath as a rare magnificent miracle. You see the divine hidden beauty in a simple drop of morning dew. You find immense profound joy in the quiet gentle rustling of the tall green leaves. The journey of the human heart is incredibly vast and completely beautiful. Every single person you meet is a unique magnificent teacher on this long path. Some teachers bring you immense sweet joy. Other teachers bring you highly difficult and deeply painful lessons. But absolutely all of them help you grow into your highest spiritual self. You learn to deeply thank the people who stayed and loved you warmly. You also learn to deeply thank the people who hurt you and quickly left. They all played a highly necessary role in cracking open your heavy tight ego. They all helped you discover the eternal bright flame of pure love hidden deep inside your own chest. If your tired heart is still carrying heavy deep pain today, please be incredibly gentle with your own soul. Please deeply know that your bitter heavy tears are completely honored by the vast silent universe. Your highly painful emotional struggle is a strictly necessary part of your beautiful profound awakening. Do not rush your own delicate deep spiritual healing process. Do not harshly force yourself to completely let go before your tired mind is entirely ready. Simply take one small quiet step every single day. Gently water your own deep fragile roots with pure unconditional self-compassion. The heavy dark winter of your deep lonely sorrow will absolutely pass away. The bright warm spring of your completely healed heart will most surely arrive. You will eventually look back at your incredibly difficult journey with a deeply peaceful and truly grateful smile. You will clearly see how the sharp terrible pain beautifully carved out a much larger empty space inside your breathing soul. This massive beautiful new space allows you to hold a much greater love than you ever thought humanly possible. It is a pure gentle love that does not bind or blindly crush. It is a bright vast love that only heals and softly uplifts. You step bravely into your beautiful new days with clear eyes full of bright warm light. Your awakened mind is vast and entirely peaceful like the deep still ocean. Your bright spirit is entirely free and incredibly light like the gentle invisible mountain wind.